I think basketball and sneakers will always be connected. In the 90s, basketball and Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Shaquille O'Neal and all of these like huge basketball athletes, they were part of the growth of the NBA and basketball going worldwide. Like they brought it to the masses. And as a kid, you know, most of us, we wanted to be some part of those guys. You know, you want to touch a piece of them. Like you want to be like as cool. You want to dunk like Shaq, or you want to shoot like Michael, or you want to be like as smooth as Allen Iverson or Anthony Hardaway, or play as hard as Kobe Bryant. And a lot of times their physical skills, you don't necessarily have their physical skills. So you have to find something that they have that you can kind of connect to yourself, or that you can have a piece of. And for a lot of us, that was the sneakers. And so I think that trend continues now, like, because we look up to these athletes and they're gifted. And so to be able to get a piece of them and to, you know, use that as something to kind of relay your own personality to the people in your own social circle, that's where the sneakers come in. And that's why basketball, I think, is so important to the sneaker culture, because it allows us to express our personalities through the individual personalities of these players that we all know and that we all love. The way that I try to treat my unboxings is I want you to experience what I'm experiencing. So I take a lot of care in shooting the details of the shoe and explaining the details of the shoe. And I also try to explain the history and the story of the shoe as well, so that people can connect to it, so that they have something that they can grab onto. A lot of people, unfortunately, aren't able to afford some of the sneakers that I talk about in my videos. And I was one of those kids where I couldn't afford the cool sneakers that I saw the basketball players and the guys in my neighborhood wearing. So this is kind of my way of reliving that experience and giving those people that are watching an opportunity to see the shoe in its full context. And I try to give those that can afford it, give them the reason why they can buy it, or the reason why they shouldn't buy it. So I give them my opinion and my perspective on the shoe, and hopefully that allows them to make a better buying decision. I'm trying to document the process so that they have something to reference. If the leather's good, I'll tell them the leather's good. If the leather's bad, I'll tell them the leather's bad. If it feels great on my foot, I'll tell them. If it feels bad on my foot, I'll tell them. If it's tight, I'll tell them. If it's loose, I'll tell them. I'll give them that information so they have those little nuggets that makes their experience more complete. Gosh, I would say my first memory of the Air Jordan 11 is seeing them on Michael Jordan. I mean, I think that's for everyone that, you know, that grew up in the 90s, like that's the memory that you have, is seeing Michael Jordan playing in them and being like, oh my God, like what are those shoes? Like I think everyone that watched basketball or that was part of basketball culture back then, when they saw those shoes, they knew, like, it was like, what is that? Like, it's just like, they were just so wild. And like it was so different than any other sneakers we had really seen up until that point. So I think it made an impression on almost everyone. And I think that's why it still remains to be one of the most popular shoes to this day. Every year for, I believe, the last 10 years, I believe it's 10 years, Jordan Brand has been releasing the Air Jordan 11 during the holiday season. And it's like the holiday shoe. And it continues to sell out and sell millions and millions of pairs because people are so interested in that shoe. It has such a place in the, it has such a high ranking in the world of sneakers and in the world of basketball that it's hard to dismiss it. Even though you have tons of pairs, I probably have maybe 7 to 10 pairs of Air Jordan 11 shoes. And I continue to get them and to buy them. So it's hard to deny the relevance of that shoe. But it's a classic shoe. It's a shoe that I think will go down as one of the most influential shoes that has ever been made. Even now, it looks like it's a shoe from the future, even though like it's been out for 25 years. It still has this like futuristic sort of vibe to it. So yeah, I think timeless is a good way to put it. There was one shoe. It was the LeBron 8 Low. It was the Sprite colorway. I remember having to drive to LA, which is like 30 miles away, and being there because they were going to release the shoes at midnight. And so we stood in line and waited with a bunch of different people. The line was all the way out of the mall into the parking lot. And people were just hanging out, chilling, waiting, talking to each other, exchanging stories about sneakers, trying to get a pair. And then when the store finally opened, we all kind of got to go through and get our sneakers. And it's a unique experience that I kind of miss because you meet so many people in those lines. Like now everything's online and, you know, you just push a button on your phone. But back then you had to actually physically go somewhere and actually meet people and talk to them. And, you know, you get to meet the different personalities and hear different people's stories. And you don't really hear that as much anymore. So that part is a little, is frustrating and a little bit, I guess I would say sad a little bit. But, you know, I also don't have to drive 30 miles away. So I guess it has the good and the bad. Yeah. And you meet people from all walks of life. You'll meet a big Hollywood actor in line, and you'll meet a guy that works down at the local Olive Garden. You know, it's a range of people from, you know, the young kid to, you know, the older guy. Like they all, like sneakers goes across generations, and it goes across like you know, wherever you are financially. It's like sneakers are something that's pretty universal that people are into.